Hi everyone, this is Pierrick from P2 Design. So in this new live stream, we'll be animating the monkey we have rigged on one of the previous streaming. So this is going to be a quadruped run cycle because he's supposed to run on his hands. So I will open my Blender and switch the screen. So let me just update. Okay, everyone is here, that's fine. So on the previous stream, so not the one with the explosion, but the one with the rigging, I rigged this character. So I had a little problem with the foot. It was like moving when I was moving the torso, and this was because I had a problem in the parent chain. So currently the rig was okay, but I forgotten to unparent the deformation bone from the shin bone. So it was at a point inheriting the rotation of the shin while it's supposed to follow this rotation and the rotation of the foot, which behave as a master, let's say. So one other thing we didn't cover on previous stream, and this is an important thing, is that as you can see here in my rig layers, I have a bunch of additional stuff here. And if I enable them, you can see that I have a bunch of new keyframe. And if I select this character, he comes with two other little monkeys. So I didn't expect that in the beginning, but my customer wanted him to have some pets, let's say. So this is going to be something way longer to animate. But I don't think we are going to animate those during this streaming because I may lack of time. I'd like to be able to achieve the run cycle in like 2 hours. That will be decent, since our character doesn't have that much items on him. He has the feathers here and those two clothes and the tail. So I consider those as being like items because for me they will follow the main animation. So what I've already done is create my keying set. So I have an action here where I have settled all the keyframe in rest mode, meaning that I just key the transformation slot I will be using. For example, for the end, I know I won't be scaling it, so I don't record any keyframe here because that will be a waste of time for me, and that will make the graph editor like messy. While I will switch to F curve and get rid of the end panel, we don't need it. While here in my graph editor, I only have the wanted keyframe. So if I take, for example, this bone here, which is supposed to rotate only on the x-axis, I will have only the x rotation curve that will be recorded. And to enable this, you need to, when using the auto recording mode here, you need to enable the key filter here, meaning the auto record will follow the filters that we have enabled here. So I used available, meaning that if there isn't any previous keyframe written into the rig, Blender won't record a new keyframe. While if you get rid of this, and I just move this, you can see he wrote like a bunch of keyframes that will be useless for me and create a lot of unwanted curve and make my scene quite messy. So as previous, I'm using a 30 FPS rate, which is not ideal. Using a 24 frame per second is easier, not because it's an historical value, but because it's easy to divide by 4, for example, in 1 second, while a 30 value is quite complicated to divide, so it's harder to make a good timing. For this animation, I will first be working on the 24 frame. So here I will set the end to 23 because the last frame will be the first, and I don't want Blender to read the first frame and the last frame. And I will first set, I think, like 4 main poses or extreme poses. So what you can't see is that I have a reference sheet, which is 2 pictures. One is a cat running with the composition, and the other one is a dog that was drawn. The idea here is that you always should have a reference, especially when it comes to animals or humans or stuff that exists in real life. That's gonna make your animation more accurate, and then you can stylize it by playing with the timing or making the poses more extreme. I won't share the reference, it's very easy. I've just searched for quadruped run reference on Google, because it seems that at least one of them has a copyright, so I don't want to have any problem with other artists or just stealing the, the work of others. So I won't be needing this screen that much. I will just keep it open as a reference here and switch it to orthographic view, and I will make those screencasts way smaller because that's a bit invading. All right, so let me know because I have some sounds issues before I start recording as usual. So let me know in the comment if there's any problem. Okay, so first thing first, I will set a first pose for my character. So I will be using IK for both the arms and the legs. So I don't need to have those FK layers here, so I will just disable them. And also I don't want to play with those tweaking bones for the timing, so I will just hide them. Also the mouse bone here are not mandatory to do, but I will have to do. But let's pose it. So I will start with front end contact pose. So it doesn't matter which pose you start with. The idea here is to complete the cycle. So generally when I do a run cycle, I like to make the contact pose when the foot or the hand will touch the ground for the first time. So first thing first, I will close the end because I want him to run on his fist, sorry. So I will give a slight curvature to the end like that, so that it feels more natural. Then I will place the thumb like this, and I think it's a decent fist pose. So I will select those bones, and I will mirror the pose here by pressing Ctrl C to copy the pose and Ctrl Shift V to paste it with mirror. So you can see that I have a problem here, maybe because it doesn't have the same name as the other, which is not the case. And this is weird. Control finger dot L dot R. Well, yep. I don't know, maybe the rotation is not the same. Yeah, it's using the same kind of rotation, so let's try Control-C, Control-V. It doesn't work, so let's do it by hand. That's unfortunate. It seems that the sums reacted well. Okay, let's keep it this way. So as it's a run cycle for a game, I won't be moving the root bone. So my character will be running on the same position, without moving in the space, let's say, because this will be done by the in Unity by the dev also. So when I animate a character, I generally don't rotate this bone, because it will give an orientation to the whole torso, while you can achieve this by rotating the different torso bone. And animation wise, this will be way easier to just play with the global position of this part and then play with the rotation of separated bones. Generally, I prefer to have separation and don't have too much information in a single bone. So let's prepare the pose. So this should be like that. This should be like this. Okay, I will rotate a bit the head, not too much. So the head is currently not following the torso. As you can see, it doesn't rotate when I rotate the torso, which makes it for me easier to animate. And now I will set the position for the arm. So I will need to have an offset between those two. I don't like this. Okay, doing something like that. So I want to have my first contact with one of the ends, something like that, and the other end should be following, meaning that it will be like 1 or 2 frames in a position like before the current one. And if you imagine the character, he will be pushing as far as possible with his arms to get to the next pose. So I should do something like this, like he having nearly a stretch arm. Now I need to align the hand, so I think I will rotate it slightly inward and move this a bit like that. Okay, looks fine. And regarding the legs, this is a position where the legs are like grouped a bit backward and still in this rotation like this. So I will also offset the leg. So as this side is we'll finish the move sooner, this one should also have the same property. So I will move this one like here. Now I can play with the torso 8 and the rotation. So currently the torso should be aligned like in a straight line toward the ground, meaning that the hip will be quite higher. I think I will have some trouble with this because it will probably snap during the run cycle. So if you imagine this, the elbow should be pointing a bit up, but not as it is here. Something like that, I think, should be better. So I will also rotate this one a bit, if I can. Okay, that's a bit sensitive here. All right. Okay, so the pose is not that bad. It's not good, but that's fine. So now let's imagine what would happen when you reach the ground like this with your fist. I believe the torso should be slightly rotated on its y-axis like that, like it's trying to reach the ground, and the shoulder should fall, meaning that it should be pointing a bit forward, and this one a bit up. So now I can rotate this one also a bit on the y-axis. I always struggle with the first poses. That's pretty, let's say, pretty complicated. But generally, I like to revise them during the splining phase, where you currently start really animating and rework the timing, because it's easier to feel the problems on your character, which here can be a bit tricky, especially if you're not like me. I'm not a specialist in animation. I mean, I haven't been doing this for years, so there are a lot of people that can guess what will happen, how to orientate the hip and stuff like this. Well, I don't have this level for the time being. So now, regarding the hip, I don't know yet in which direction rotate them, but generally it should, if your spine is rotating this way, you should rotate the hip the other way. So I will use this principle and rotate it like that, which makes sense as he's pulling his leg forward here. So regarding the head, I think I will give it a slight movement like this, but for the time being, I don't really know how to pose this, so I will keep it this way. I will jump to frame 6, so I will do a basic blocking on every 6 frames. So next pose should be, so I have this, it should be some kind of passing pose, meaning that he will have both hands on the ground, and he will be like pushing them and moving his feet forward. So let's take this bone and move it backward. And when he's doing this, he should have some weight on it. So if you imagine your shoulder, when you make a push-up or try to work on your hands, your shoulder will get higher. So I will move the shoulder like this. Slightly backward, okay. And regarding the torso here, so I don't yet know if it has to go down, or if it will like being pushed by this motion, like he's pushing on his hand. So I will go a little further into this posing, something like this, and I will push this one way backward, maybe something like that. So as it push on its arms, I think the torso should be bending a little backward, and this I think should go down, because he will absorb his weight, and he should rotate this a bit like that, and on the y-axis too, because he's trying to move his arm backward, I believe. And then there will be our first contact pose with this one. So I won't, I've made the mistake, but I won't be rotating the bone that much, this one, because I will be using mainly the heel rotation bone. Set this like that and try to touch the ground. So as you can see, I have a stretching option, which is very handy in this case. Let's do something like this. And this one should be like nearly arriving to the ground also. And the hips should be like trying to reach the ground. So maybe I will make this a little down. I try to avoid making a y-axis movement here. Okay. And I will slightly rotate the elbow backward like this. So the edge should also get this motion. So I feel like when he's reaching the ground, it should be like that. And when he hit the ground, his head will absorb a bit of the force here. I will key everything. And now I will switch my keys to constant because I don't want any interpolation between the movement for the time being. This will break the readability of your character, and you want your animation to work well during the blocking stage already. So I will jump to frame 12 now, and this will be the time where both feet will be on the ground and they will push toward up or and forward. So let's push this like up, disable this rotation and slide the foot on the ground. I will slightly rotate this one. Alright, and this one will be touching the ground right now, something like this. So as he push, I think I have to rotate my hip like that, and I will start to move the torso upward like this, but this one will be slightly offset, meaning that the root of your spine will start to rise, and then the head and the chest and the head will follow. So I will make an arc like that. This arm should be like in the air and starting to go forward. I hope it won't pop when reaching this area. So the shoulder should be slightly rotated backward. And I think this one should just have ended its course, let's say. So it might be like super back like that. Yeah, I think it will look interesting. And the neck, I think the head should be rotated a little more like that. So now I believe that the torso should be rotated slightly toward this arm, which has made the last push backward. And regarding the y-axis, I think something like that would be better, and the shoulder should again should be like backward like this. Okay, I will key everything and get back to my reference. Okay, so I think I will have some timing issues, but that's fine. Yeah, that's looking nice. Maybe I can move this a little upper, and now there will be on frame, so frame 18 here, the how to say, the air position when is like really pushing forward, meaning that this leg is gonna be already in the air, like it has finished its movement. This one will be still on the ground pushing backward, will be slightly higher, so I don't want to stretch the leg too much, but I think it's okay. And now it should be like in full, his spine should be straight, meaning that he has gathered a lot of energy and still pushing with his head. This arm should go like forward, oops, sorry. And I will keep this broken hand like this. It will give more dynamism to the movement. So if I check my reference, both arms should be like pretty close one to each other, and the shoulder should be like pulling the arm forward and upward in this case. Yeah, I think this big head make him looks a bit stiff, I think, which I don't like. But so from this stage we should be back to this one. So it's not a classical run cycle where you can animate one side and then mirror all the poses. Here we have both sides moving in an offset way, and it will influence the way the spine move. You can't mirror this animation. That's why quadruped animation is harder than biped one, where you can make half of the run cycle and then finish it. So I will duplicate this one, so the very first one, and move it on the x-axis and check how it looks now. So unfortunately my frame rate is like super low, which sucks, but it happens. This is probably because of those modifiers. You can see now I reach like 10 more frames per second, and this is, I don't know, I'm a bit unsatisfied about it, but as soon as you have modifiers onto a character, even a mask modifier where we could think that you're removing polys from your viewport, this should go faster, Blender tend to get slower. And also, I mean, here we have like 10,000 vertices. This is nothing to be animated with a pretty low bone number rig, and still it's a bit slow. So yeah, that's unfortunate. I hope they will enhance the viewport performances for 2.8, but yeah, for the time being doesn't seem super handy. So for the timing here, that's gonna be a bit complicated to make it right in first glance, but we can use playblast. So when I'm watching here my animation, what I feel like is the torso, the main torso here is not moving enough, up to down, okay? So I will need more movement for this. Like in this stage, I will move it down more, like that. Pushing here is okay, but this straight here should be higher. And then I'll deal with the timing of this leg to avoid sorry, too much stretching. But now it should look a bit better. And also I think this last pose here might be a bit too low. So I need to duplicate it. I think it may look decent. So what I will check is that I have an output for a playblast, like this temporary playblast folder. Call this monkey, and I will set an MPEG video encoding. Yeah, that's fine. And we'll use MP4. So now I can run a viewport render. Should be fine this way. That's gonna be fast. And in my temporary file here, I should have a monkey here file. So I will wait a few seconds. And now I can play it real time. Okay, so for me it's decent. We may use like a few frames less to make it really fast, because those are small monkey. We want them to to run pretty fast. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with the result for the time being. So from this point, there are two options. We could go like sorry, we could start splining the animation already and work the world timing during the splining stage, meaning that I will work on the different parts of the character first, and then see how they are combined, meaning that generally you will start with the feet, or the end in this case, because they are just like feet when they touch the ground. And once you have those with a nice arc and a nice animation, you can work on the torso, meaning that in this case it's like the torso will have follow-through animation. It won't be leading the animation. While when you have a standing character like throwing a punch, you will generally move first, animate first the torso, having a nice movement that drive the shoulder, and then the punch will follow. So in this case, I think I will go for the feet. Maybe the legs should spread a bit wide for a more balanced feeling. Okay. So let's see if we can offset. The problem with the legs is that I don't want them to clip too much with the front ends. Because when you see a dog running, his back legs stay inside the front legs, and they move in the inside. I can't mimic this, but you have the idea, hopefully. But I can offset the position of the leg later on with the curve. That's gonna be way easier to move the X position curve, offset it, and see if it fits the animation. So do we need like intermediate pose? That could be nice. Also here I don't like the neck position. Should be a little lower. Yeah, okay. Something like this. So I'd like to introduce some intermediate poses so that I can work on the timing later on. So what I will do is that I will just uncheck the root bone here. I will make it like a lazy boy. I will use the interpolation option by pressing Shift E. And then you can see on the bottom left corner, I don't know if you can see it, but on the bottom left corner of my screen, I have a breakdown value with a percent value, meaning that when you are creating this breakdown pose, do you want to be nearer from the first pose or the next one? So I will keep it at 50%, and the idea here is that I will revise this pose so that it fit both ones. For example, I think this one here should be on the ground now. And so the shoulder should be slightly like that. Regarding the foot, you can see that I will have my contact pose on next frame. So it should be like near this pose, starting to prepare for it. While this one, I will start to rotate it this way and keep the fingers bent. And this one should be okay. I don't know what kind of interpolation Blender is using here. Meaning that whenever something touches the ground in the walk cycle, thinking that you are running with a constant speed, you're not starting to run, you should have a linear interpolation for your feet and the ends in this case. So something like this. And here I don't have any air pose, so I think I will add one. This one from here to here is pretty easy to read. So I will press Shift E, set it to 50%, and then revise my pose. So Jacko, hi Jacko Stenius, ask a question. Hi Pierrick, looking good, thank you. Where can I find the previous lesson about the ringing of this character? On my channel. It's if you go to the streaming playlist, you will find it, or you just go on my channel and you will find it for sure. So I will push those like that. So the idea here is that this arm should be leaving the ground, so I want it to push like backward, like with a lot of strength, something like this. This one here I don't know yet, but let's see. So it was like pushing on the ground and getting back. Okay, so here it's supposed to be like a moment where it will nearly leave the ground, and I think this is also the moment where this foot should be in contact. So I will try to mirror this one from the previous pose. So I copy the pose by selecting the bones and pressing Ctrl C and Ctrl Shift V to mirror the pose, and we have something like this. And so the thing I don't like here is the fact that this fist is clipping. So I will move it slightly backward. I'm just checking if, yeah, you can see the this foot like flipping on the ground, stuck. So maybe it should be a bit forward, a bit more forward like that, because it will start to move backward as soon as it's on the ground. And from this stage, so you can see the movement here, the other foot should be a little higher. So from now I will add another one. So generally I don't do it this way. I generally go with 4 keyframes, but I wanted to show you something if I'm able to do it correctly, is how you can play with timing and totally change the way your character behave. So I will select everything, press Shift E, set it to 50%, And also adding a lot of keyframes like this might not be for me might not be the best way, because you can play with those intermediate pose like with the curve, which is easier. But yeah, so I want him to push way backward. So I don't know if, yeah, maybe like this would look better. I don't know. So way backward. This is the time where, okay, this this end, sorry, looks good to me. I won't mess that much with its position. And this foot, yeah, if I cancel the rotation, yeah, I will just initiate it a bit. It looks decent. I don't feel like I think this one is a bit off. We'll move it on the side a bit. So the idea here is that we won't have the exact same position for each end. If you try to run on 4 legs like this, you will always like favorite one side of your body. Generally, if you're right-handed, you will use your left hand as the main contact on the ground. Okay, and I want this a nice air pause before we get there. So I will go to frame 21 here, and I will push those ends forward, not too much, and start to open them. This one slightly backward. Okay. Oh, I forgotten to use the interpolation that would help. So I think this will be the higher moment, the very last moment he's moving like in the air. So here I have my push, and so he's bringing his leg forward, while the other one should be like way backward. Yeah, regular or goofy. I don't remember those skateboard stuff. But I really suck at skateboarding. I mean, the last time I've tried to get onto something with wheels like that, I just broke my arm. So I don't do this anymore. I prefer water. In water, I'm quite skilled, let's say. I like surfing and stuff like this. I've been doing this for like I started when I was 8, so I won't say how many years it is, but it is way back. Some of you might not been born at this time, so I don't want to be the old crap here. So yeah, I think it looks decent now. Yeah. So there is, from what I see here, there is a problem with the legs for sure. I don't know when, but yeah, this states here is unreadable for sure. I got way too far with this one. Yeah, that's a bit strange, but we'll see. So I will launch another playblast. Display, I will go to only render, so that it will look like better. Try to place my view here. Okay. let's run it. Don't hesitate to ask a question if you have, or to say that I'm awesome and you love me, etc. Always a pleasure. I will just get rid of those because they are useless. So I think it looks decent in the blocking stage. So I will save. Ooh. Don't forget to save your files, even if Blender is very stable. And now I want to show you the difference when you change the timing. Here what I will do is that I will straighten the timing when he's on the ground and make the time when he's in the air longer. And you will see it's very interesting. It will be like he's hop. I don't know how to say it in English, and I feel ridiculous like doing this in real life, but you know, like a sheep in or a sheep, I don't know, in cartoon, it touch the ground and whoop, and move like that. I think that could be interesting, or maybe it will be obvious if I do it correctly. So what I will do is that I will give it another name here for the playblast. I will switch to my 3D view and I will just move those keys. So all the keys where is touching the ground here until this one. I will shorten the time it takes to get there by going here and scale. Oh, by the way, I didn't give a name to this action, so let's call it, that's very important, 01 run. This is a convention. Okay, let me just create a fake user so that I'm sure I won't lose it. So as we are using Unity to export our animation, one thing that is really how to say it, really unfortunate about Unity is that if you update your character adding a new animation, for example, Unity by default is using an alphabetical way of stacking the animation. So if there is an animation in between that you have added, and when you update your character in Unity, you will have an animation swapping, and you may have an idle that become an attack or stuff like this. So I'm saying this from what I know and what my colleague told me. There might be a solution. If there is any Unity expert here and you know a solution, just let me know, because I know they are like struggling with this. So this is the first contact pose. So now I will move those like that, like try to average the animation. So I don't know how it will look right now. Looks quite weird. So I think these two should be closer one to the other, and this one like I want the air pose to last longer, this one. So maybe something like this. Don't think it's gonna be super convincing with the playblast, but let's just try it. Yeah, okay. And let's check it out. Yeah, so without the splining, it's a bit hard to tell. We just see that something is going wrong. You get a better feedback by animating the tail too. No, I will animate the tail in the very end. I don't like to, because for me the tail is just will have a follow-through animation. It's tight to the hip, so it will follow like that. So I prefer to do this during the polishing stage, not before. So what I will do is that I will switch my interpolation to Bezier and see how it behaves then. So I will switch by pressing T Bezier here and see how it looks. We have this filling. But I don't think that this timing looks very good. I think I will shorten the animation to get better results. So you can see by just adding all those intermediate keyframes, we get we have this feeling of but doesn't look good at all for me. So I will check now how it will look with a regular interpolation, regular timing, sorry. So 3, let's move it to 6, this one to 9, 12, 15 here. Okay, and launch a last one. I think I will go to this one. It looks more classical, but I feel like I will have less problem with this. No, this one is funnier, I think. If I can achieve something cool with this, I think it will look better. So I will go for the previous timing. Don't know if a Control Z will make it happen. Yeah, seems to. And I will make the animation slightly shorter, like 22 frame only. So what I will do is I will enable this to make sure I'm moving all the keyframe back in position. And I will switch this. So now I have enough keyframes to avoid character seems much heavier on the top part of the body, so legs could be higher when resting on ends. Oh, I don't understand. Character seems much heavier on the top part, okay, the top part of the body, so legs could get higher when resting on ends. Oh, okay. You mean that when he's pushing on his hands, the torso should get higher? I'm not sure. Yeah, the hip, this bone here. Not sure. I get the idea, but I can imagine it. So. Because you have the pushing is on the back legs. He doesn't push with the front legs. The front ends allow him to generate energy to push forward like this, and then to absorb it, to absorb the contact. And I can't invert this phenomenon. That will look weird, I think. Yeah, gravity things for sure, but not sure I get it. So I will start polishing this. So what I do when it comes to regular action like an attack or stuff like this is that I offset movement directly onto the timeline here. But when it comes to cycles, you can do this, but you will have some issue when you reach the latest frame. So I prefer to do this during the splining, let's say, because what I always do is that I always offset the chest like that, like one frame after the spine, and then I offset the head too, like on one frame, and you get a natural, more natural movements, like those two are offset. But you will lose your first keyframe. While we can do this pretty easily during the splining, I will be able to add a missing keyframe on the fly. So I will start with the torso bone, I think. So I will switch to the graph editor now and see how those beautiful curves looks like. I will get rid, hide the rotation curve because I won't be using them, and those are the X location. I will have to move it, but for the time being I won't be seeing it, because when you will contact, his torso should go a bit onto the hand he's using. So I will be mainly focusing on the up and down curve here. So if we check the position here, it's like he's touching the ground, and I will hide every other bone. He's touching the ground and then he's going up directly, which is not really good. I'd like some absorption here, like he has some weight. So I need to offset this first keyframe like that and make this one slightly longer, so that you can see that now it stays on the ground a little more. And also I think I will offset this one, or maybe make it a little lower. I think I will add a keyframe like that to have like a good absorption, yeah, like a moment where it stays on the ground. So now it looks more natural, and then it will push and give acceleration. So the shape of the curve here is pretty good, let's say, meaning that it's getting fast toward the hair, let's say. Is raising fast, and then slowly is slowing down, is lifting. I will accelerate it right here and right here, and then I will try to have this thing where it stays a bit in the air. That will look a bit nicer, something like this. Yeah, and you see when it folds we have an acceleration. And now to make the loop more looping, let's switch this to 3 and rotate it like that, and move it on the x-axis, so that both keys are the same, but mostly the curves are aligned. And now I will have a better, how to say, I won't have any glitching and jittering when the action gets back to the first frame. On the y-axis here I don't have this problem since those two are aligned, so that's fine. I won't touch them for the time being because I think they are a bit off. It should not move on the y-axis here, but it might help the... I will check if I get rid of those, what happened. Because we should be able to deal with the hip position by offsetting the feet. But yeah, I think it was like easier to animate this way. So I will have weight pushing forward, and here it should be still be pushing like forward, like absorption, and then when you push, I should have something like that. Okay, now it's pushing forward, so just moving the torso a bit backward, like absorbing. And maybe this is a bit too much here. I think that should be okay this way. So I will have, I think, by doing this, I will have to keep the feet in the air for a time and then accelerate. So this will be the important part, I think, of the animation. So I will start with one foot now. Let's grab this one. So there's the time. Regarding the timing of the foot, this will be the first foot. So I will keep it as a reference. So I will animate this one, and then I'll see how the other one behaves. So here you can see that my animation is slowing down. So if I isolate this, I will hide the rotation keys. Hey Alessandro. And I will hide everything else so it may looks clearer. But you may not have this slowing effect like that, because your foot will reach the ground as fast as the falling stuff. Like if you've done the bouncing ball animation, you know that it's accelerating until it touches the ground. So if my contact pose is here, which I do think so, I will offset those like that. Then here, this should be set to vector, so that it's aligned toward the previous frame. And here I shouldn't have this curve like that, like an S curve. This should be like falling in this way. So without even watching my animation, I know it's wrong here. While here it should feels more natural. Okay, and then once it's on the ground, we need a linear interpolation. This is what I've told you before, meaning that the distance the foot will move during this time should be linear, meaning the foot hit the ground and it moves with a constant speed. So let's switch those two to vector, and we can get rid of intermediate poses here. They are useless. The foot will slide on the ground with a constant speed, and then when it gets up, it should like get up fast and then slow down in the air. So I should move this one like here, rotate it a bit. Like you see, it lifts the ground pretty fast, and then it got into the air, and this is where I want to change stuff. I want it to stay in the air like a little longer, and generally I want my foot to pass through during this time. So I will initiate the transition forward a little sooner. So let's see, like that. I want it to be high when it starts to move forward, so this is not good. I think I will offset this key and make it slightly higher. You see, it's at its highest point it's starting to move forward. And also I'd like it to be like a little more in the air during this stage. So I will duplicate this keyframe, and I will break a bit this curve. Yeah, that's weird. I'd like to have a faster movement here, but also I need to rotate, to align this. And this is where it's a bit off here, because it's not aligned anymore, so it should be somewhere like here and here. And so in this regard I will get rid of this keyframe. Let's see. So here that's decent. I will move this here. You can see that I need to keep it aligned. I will need to rotate those, so it also helps you to place correctly your curves, to have this mirroring effect due to the cycle. Okay, let's see how it looks. Yeah, I have this now. I have a better feeling of floating in the air, but it's hard to tell with this slow motion, and it's also hard to focus only on one foot when you have all the others around. Might be this one. No. Why did he change the name? So 21 monkey 03, and this should be 0321. I think it looks, that's hard to say. It must be awful in the live stream viewport, but I think it looks decent now. So I will do the same with the other leg, so that we have a better feedback, and then I will play with the heel and the toe. So here you can see that it's quite messy. The curves are looking quite bad, so I will hide everything. I don't know if I can keep something like cleaner here. If I do this, maybe. I want to see both foot. No, not at this time. I will revise them later on. Yeah, looks good. So don't hesitate to, if you're doing this kind of stuff, don't hesitate to create like other mask modifier to be able to isolate legs and stuff like this. So here we have a very weird stuff happening here. Is that the foot is raising here and is getting down, raising and getting down again, which is quite not good at all. So we have our contact here. Let's switch those keys to a vector, and then let it slide on the ground until this moment. Yep, also vector. Now I can get rid of what is in between to get those two straight lines. What's unfortunate here is that I have a level difference on the z-axis, so I will copy this one where it's getting a bit underground, but you will prefer to have a bit of clipping with the ground than having your foot floating. That's gonna be that's gonna look better. So as I did before, I wanted to raise quite fast here, which is the case, and yeah, okay, there isn't any floating effect here. This is why I got those weird stuff. So I wanted to stay, and like here, where is the forward pose? It's here. So I think this one is totally wrong. Yeah, it moves a lot, like forward, like it's floating. So here I do have a correction to be done. This should be like staying in the air for a while, and do something more like that. So I think it's getting a bit too close from the chest, but it might be something we'll be dealing with when playing with the torso rotation. But here, yeah, I feel like it looks decent. I will probably move this a bit higher, just to make it getting forward a bit slower and then accelerate before it touches the ground. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. So let's see. I think it looks interesting. And this is where the follow through animation, like the tail, etc., will be important, because it will give your timing more depth, because the tail which is following will follow the movement, and it might not be have this time offset, let's say, and will make like we feel like the animation is normal, then slow motion, then normal, and adding those follow-through animation will make it smoother and make it feel like more regular, let's say. Okay, I will launch a little playblast, but I think I will go with this. Or I should keep this folder open. 3221, it's here. I will get rid of, yeah, looks nice. Maybe I will rework a bit the curves backward, or it will be about the foot roll that will give a little flap effect that will be more interesting. But I feel like it's decent, let's say. I will get rid of those. So let's animate the heel and the toe now. I will go in the front view, Alt H, select this one and this one, and hide everything else. Okay, so here I have my contact pose here, so I need to offset that and switch it to vector 2, because I want it to close very fast, like on 2 frames, meaning that once it touches the ground, 2 frames later the foot is flat, something like this. And I want it to be flat for like at least 1 frame or 2, so I don't want this slow down effect, like flat and then pushing, and it should be like something like this. And here maybe rotate it a bit more. Yeah, we'll go like way more when it's moving forward. So here I have an issue. Now I will have a more flapping effect, which should occur sooner, I think. So the weird thing about this kind of rig is that it's also affecting the knee position, which may look a bit weird, but that's gonna be fine. Now I have more this flapping effect, but I like it a bit more. Maybe raise this, okay. And as it moves forward, it should be like still a bit like that. And then before it touched the ground, swap to this position. So I will rotate this one, Shift D, duplicate it, and now just before it hit the ground, you get those toes upward like this. And now by animating the toes, we will have a very smooth movement of the foot. So from this point here, I feel like if I don't have the end, that will be easier, but I can't hide it. I will go on the other side. It looks good, meaning that while the foot is moving forward, the toes are bent inward and then they open and touch the ground. So this timing here is good, and I just need to switch this to vector so that it gets flat like fast. Maybe the highest point here is a bit too much. Doing this like it will be okay. And from there, yeah, no change in the rotation for sure. But here I want to keep them like for one frame at least bent forward like that, and then here it should be bent the other way like that. So here it's a bit extreme maybe, so it pushed backward. Now it should be before, like even before. I want to get this rotation motion into this part of the foot, so and when you move forward, you should stay a bit, because you want the toes to act as a follow-through animation. Now I can rotate this. I think it looks decent. So this might be a bit like that. Maybe this frame, I don't like this frame here. I want to offset this position. I think it will be better. So I need it to. I will add another keyframe here on this single channel and get rid of this one. Now I just need to rework this and offset it so that I don't get this crazy rotation that soon, I mean. And it might be the toes that give me troubles here. Yeah, I think it looks way better. Then even if there is a bit of stretching, that's fine. But I really want it to stay on the ground as long as possible. So we may have the same problem with the other legs. Yeah, I like this motion. Like it's going really fast backward and then it slows down and reaccelerates to initiate the next pose. Don't hesitate to ask question, please. I'm here to answer if I can. So this one, let's have a look. So I'm a bit lost. Too many information here. Okay. All right. So let's see. So this is wrong for sure, but I'll get it later. So here the swapping start to focus. The swapping is okay, I think, for the contact. So I will switch to vector and get it flat on 2 frame as we did before, and duplicate this because I want it to stay on this side. It looks a bit better. I mean, there is stretching, but it's like he's putting more effort on this leg. And then it will rise the heel, so maybe we can make it rising a bit before, and to avoid the stretching I will make it slightly harder like that. Okay. And I think it will get, no, okay, that's fine, it doesn't get out of the screen. Now I can do as we did before, is that I don't want the foot to bend like this. Can get rid of this key. So here let's see. I think it could be a bit more like on this frame. Something like this. And so here I can offset it a bit, maybe. Like that. Yeah, the curve doesn't look perfect, but that should be okay. Okay, let's work on the toes. Does the root bone have to be at the center of gravity of the character? No, not necessarily. Hey Jim, you woke up? Stopping making... So Jim was tweeting me at like 1:30 a.m. Okay, was making weird stuff with his rig instead of sleeping. So regarding the center of gravity, so so you mean the origin, I believe. Doesn't matter. Generally, what we do to avoid any bug is that your character, by default, your mesh object will have its origin to the origin of the world, and when you apply your rig, it should also be with its location cancelled. Location, rotation, and scale should be at 0, 1, 1. So it will avoid any bug when applying those. But then it doesn't matter if the root is on the origin. We do this in convention, I don't know how to say it, by default, because when you will export it to another software, generally the point 0 is the ground. So if you have set the origin of your character on the middle torso, which can happen, he will have his torso clipping with the ground, and we don't want this for sure. So yeah, this is not necessary to make it work, but you should do this for sure. So let's check this. It was already made. Maybe I was working on this one. So I will go in front view, and that's crazy how time is running so fast. I mean, 1 hour and a half already of stream. That's just crazy. So I like this. let's align the impact like that. There should be a little offset with the foot contacting, like this part of the foot is making contact and then the toes. And then here we can set it to vector 2, and here I want it to flap pretty fast as we did before. And then when it comes forward, keep this state in a way. Comes forward, and I will rotate this. And I think I'll be able to get rid of this key here. Yeah. That's weird. This one should, yeah. Yeah, looks, this one was betterly blocked out, I think, because it already looks decent. I like this acceleration backward. I think it's a bit too much, but should make it work. Okay. Let's have a new playblast. Just to check out those legs. So I don't know if the timing will be like super nice, but we'll see. So let's try this. Yeah, I like this ship jump movement. I think it looks pretty natural. So I will have a lot to do with the. I think I will have to revise the torso and make sure that the chest and the neck have a nice flow, let's say, because here it's super stiff, but I haven't polished them yet. So let's get to the hands now. And once we have all those done, we can play with the revise the torso position and play with the rotation of everyone. So let's select this bone, and this is where it's gonna be hopefully, because if you check the character in rest pose here, you can see that this bone is not aligned with the world. So if I display the axis, you can see that my x-axis is currently what will make it moving forward and backward, while generally you are using the y-axis. But this was to make the rotation of the end more obvious for the user, which is me. So yeah. So let's see. We'll start with the contact pose here. So we should have until it leaves the ground, which looks like it may be one frame later, like this, and I feel like there is a rotation here, so I will also offset the rotation keys. I don't want it to rotate before it's, or maybe a little bit, but I don't want it to be like it doesn't clip anymore with the ground once it's here. So here the x-axis, my local y-axis movement should be like straight. So I will switch this one to vector here, get rid of those, and switch this one to vector 2, so that it's, as we did before for the feet, it moves with a linear interpolation on the ground. Then it will leave the ground, so I want it to leave a little slower here. And this is because I have this stuff here, and I think it's decent here. And I will move it a bit higher, and I want it to be like the highest point might be somewhere around here. And then here it should go down a bit. I will get rid of this one, I think. So I have a decent arc, I think. I want it to stay backward maybe a bit longer here. I will just scale this a bit. And then move forward like that. So nice. You can see my curve is quite nice. I'm happy I don't have any elbow issue here. And we'll have to raise the shoulder because for the time being, when you reach this pose here, it's a bit weird that he has such an angle here. All right, and for me this is okay. This is the time where it looks like it should stay more in the air because of our will to offset the timing. So I will move this up and slightly to the side so that I make it higher for a longer amount of time. And so does the X here. And I will also make like the end like more forward and get rid of those keys. For the time being, I want him to try to reach as far as possible, and even when just before it hit the ground, I want him to be like straight to the ground, and then he will hit here. And if he hit the ground, as usual, we need a vector curve, and we need an acceleration before it hit the ground. So higher, and the bending of the curve should be like this, and also here. It's less important on the forward axis, let's say, because it's not a falling motion here, it's a pulling motion, but I will try to keep it consistent. And I don't super like this like straight movement. If you see I will do something like this. If you see the movement here of the bone, it seems that it's moving toward the ground like in straight line, and I don't like that. I will try to make it, yeah, more like a curve. Okay, like now it's more something like this, which is which looks better to me. Okay. I will just revise this point just based on the curve shape here. And now I can play with the road. I think the movement curves looks decent here. Maybe the time where it's back should be a little longer, because like he push and he push forward like that. So I will offset this one and rework this curve. We need to like divide the timing when he's in the air. So yeah, I want it to stay backward a little longer. So I will offset those two. Yeah, I think it will look better. So try to do this way. Like we have a break here, acceleration, and a break before it hit the ground. Like here and here, it's pretty slow. Check, check, check. Here it's too slow. I want get rid of this one and this one. I want it to stay up like longer and fall faster. So I need to check. Oh yeah, it's a contact pose here, so that's gonna be fine. Yeah, I like it more, even if it's a bit weird here. Doesn't look good, but this is the kind of motion I want. So I need to maybe set this, yeah, offset this a bit, and offset this one too, I think. Thank you, Jim. But it's not perfection, and yeah, I know you're always looking for perfection. I'm sorry about that. So I will work the rotation rapidly. This is again the fact that I don't have a real-time feedback is not cool, to be honest. And you can see that the shoulder is behaving really weirdly. And this is where you have to choose, when using an invert kinematic, which bone drive the movement. And in real life, what drive the movement is what is on the ground first. So we generally think it's the spine that will pull the shoulders, that will pull the arm, which is mechanically correct, but visually might not be. While here we are animating the fist, and then the other part will fall. So this is where I think good animators are able, while blocking their character, to already think about and have a good position of the shoulder, for example. While as I may lack of experience, for sure, I'm not able to set it correctly in the first shot. So I will have to revise the shoulder position. For example, here, that's weird. The shoulder is bending toward the ground, while the elbow is toward the hair. That doesn't make sense at all. So yeah. Does the frame rate improve if you select the model instead of the rig? Not really. So yeah, just rapidly for Jim, what I have told other before. The problem is that I have quite a lot of bones, and I'm using a modifier to hide the two little monkeys here. And the mask modifier, you see, I was like at 18 FPS. Now I am nearly at 30, which doesn't make sense. You have like more geometry, and now I can play it like in real time, which is cool because this is what I wanted. But so now I can focus on the I'm at nearly 30 FPS, and it looks cool. I think there is a lot of work to be done with the spine, but that looks cool. Select the model in object mode, it runs 60 FPS, while if I have the rig selected, yeah. No, it doesn't mean that it's not based on your Blender version. If I select the rig here, select every bones, so same condition but with the rig selected. But if I don't hide the rig here, now it's getting very slow. And I don't know why, because Blender have to display those bones. He get very slow, like he's creating 3D meshes maybe for those bones. Now if I hide most of them, and I think I have to unselect them, you can see that my frame rate is getting better. Now I deselect them and it's getting even better. Yeah, that's something weird here, but if I unselect them, it will go faster. That's hard to explain, but that's the, you know, the stuff that maybe some technical artists should, yeah, Blender devs may have looked to. So I think it's a matter of displaying the bones with 3D object currently. So Blender may have, and this is where I feel like Maya might be better, even if I don't use it, because I can see that I have a very decent toward powerful workstation, so I don't understand why on such a simple character I can't have a decent frame rate. And while in Maya they are able to work with very high poly models, or at least mid poly models with a 60 FPS, 60 frame per second rate. So yeah, that's, I feel a bit jealous. So I would select the rotation now. Those keys here, press L to select them all and press Shift H, and it always do that. Okay, so I will hide this one too, and I will press the dot key so that I can see my curves here. So don't be afraid, I won't be considering this one. So there are a lot of rotation in this, but let's try to make it simple. So first we have this slight rotation when it's leaving the starting to prepare to leave the ground, which for me is okay. I will just offset this one here, and just to show you, so this is the rotation on the side. So currently it moves like a bit weirdly, and this will be the fist orientation. Also there is this quaternion curve that might be problematic, but that's fine. I think like this movement is looking nice, but I don't want it to get absorption here and then get back to his previous status. So here it rotates super fast. It should be some movements like that. Like it needs to slow down because it's in the air, so there is nothing to slow the fist. I mean, there is the hair for sure, but that should not be enough. So we need to have this little follow through key. Smooth this, and I think I will get rid of this key here. Yeah, I think it will look more natural. And then I want it to flap before it touched the ground, as we did for the fist, so the foot, sorry. So here that's fine. I will just bend the curve, so instead of having a line point here, I will make a slight curve shape, and I will offset it. But before it hit the ground, so this is my contact pose. This should be set to vector. Those two also. I'd like it to move like that, and it flap to the ground, even if it doesn't look realistic, or even if it's not realistic at all. Let's say this might input some interesting movement. So this is not in this way. Nah. Which curve do I have to edit? This one more. Okay. That's I will make it by N so that it will help. Something like this, and I don't like the fact that it's pointing outward here. Okay, so now I have a new keyframe, and let's see. So it's like it's moving forward and it should be floating a little more here, like that. And just before it hit the ground, it will bend like in the other way, and that's a bit weird here. Let's see. Yeah, no, that's fine. You see there I don't know if you can see it clearly in the on the stream, but this gives a slight flapping effect I like. So regarding curves in the air, I'm just trying to keep them as smooth as possible until I input new informations. Yeah, looks decent. So let's now focus on the second end. So let's see, we have the contact pose right here. So I just want to check. Yeah, I have a nice offset between those two, so you can see the difference between the one that was a bit polished and this one, which looks more robotic, I think. So I will split this, and I will just keep it like that. Go inside view, and then we'll be able to move those ends on the y-axis too, meaning that when it comes forward, you will offset them on the side before it goes forward. It will look more natural, but for the time being I'm focusing on the side view here. So contact pose is here. Let's switch it to vector, and it moves, and it leaves the ground like here, which again I don't necessarily like. I want it to stay on the ground and gather energy as long as possible, so until here. And so I will add a new keyframe on this one, switch it to vector, and get rid of this and this one, so that I have again my linear interpolation here. And then when it moves backwards, I want it to get way back. So let's try this. I want it to go like further back, like we did before, you know, like he pushed backward and then he's just like that. I don't know if you can't see me. Must be like really, yeah, you can't see anything, but like he's flying with his head forward. Not too much, I don't want, and I will keep it like doing this for a while before it gets further. I don't remember on how many frames I've done it before. So here you can see I have a shoulder problem, like it's flipping. So we should get rid of this by making the arm wider. So floating and raising, that's it, and then it should stay up for a little while until it reaches the contact pose. Where we want an acceleration on the impact. So the movement forward here is way too much, way too fast, so I need to offset this one. It looks better, but not as cool as before. Ooh, that's sensitive here. Let's move this a little higher. yeah, now it looks way better. And so I have here in this screen, I have my offsets, and it looks decent, I think. So you can see here on the front view the elbow going like crazy. Bloop, bloop, something like this. So we can get rid of this by making the arm wider, as Oleg advised, and we'll do this. But first I will play with the rotation now. Okay, so let's check our rotation axis. Okay. So again, I want this flapping effect appearing on 2 frames. So maybe I can do this here. So what is the x-axis? Should be like that. So from this point I don't see anything like super weird, and also the curves looks way better than before. Here I want more movements backward like that, so I will increase this and this one, and then I will soften the movement. So I'm just looking at the curves and try to make them like super soft. I could get rid of those keys to make it more simple. Then it's pushing forward. I think the motion, there is I think this Y rotation motion, which is a bit unfortunate, but because it's like it's rotating toward the inside, then inside, which makes sense. So that's fine. Okay, it does make sense. And here we don't have any difference of interpolation between the two. They are well aligned, so it should work, I think. Yeah, looks nice. So let's try a little play blast from there. Just to check it out. Yeah, I think we could input more movement in the torso, even if we haven't polished it yet, but the up and down motion, let's see from the side. I think from the side it will work better, since we are working on the side from the beginning, and this is why I need to add some movement on the x-axis also for the ends to make it looks better. So let's do this. Display, like, I need this bone, and I will work on the its y-axis position here. So I don't know why it's currently changing here, because I've offset it, so that's a good point. Yeah, it looks way better for sure. So as soon as it will leave the ground, so it's this point here. So let's see, there is a bit of clipping. So what I can do is slightly offset onto the side. You see, I'm selecting the whole curve, and if you have a well-aligned curve, it's easy to offset movement this way. So offset them like that, not too much. And so when it's leaving the ground like this, it could be like, if you push for backward, maybe we could add like a little movement toward the inside first, and then he will spread his fist until he gets to the contact pose, which is this one here. So this is way too fast, so I want to I will check here. It should be like at the widest pose when he crossed his hips. Then absorb the movement and then get back inward. And then contact here. So I will have something like vector here. Rotate this one and make it shorter. And yeah, it seems to looks good. Curve wise. So yeah, that's sort of, even I'd like to, because I don't feel like if you put your fist on the ground, will they move like this? I don't think that's possible. I'm not sure. No, I will keep it this way, but that will be, might be, if you think of a catwalk, it will be something like this. So we may have this movement where one foot is getting in front of the other, but then it's gonna be a problem for me during the passing of the feet, I think. And since both, oh, maybe I could straight the feet when they hit the ground. I don't know. That could be interesting, like they are getting closer one to the other when they hit the ground. That will be nice. I will work on the second, on this one, and see what we can do. So here it's this will be easier because it's on the ground here. It just left the ground from this key, so I will slightly push it inward, and then when it cross the hips here, it should be wider. Then we'll have a bit of absorption of the movement, so wide and then a little wider because he's trying to slow down his arm, and then get back toward the contact pose, which is not here. It's here. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So now what I want to do is do the same thing with the feet. Just to test. So it will be the X location. So what I'd like is so my contact pose is here, is to offset those like that when it hit the ground. So I do believe I need to check if both feet are like one close to each other. Now there are one in front of the other, so we can input this motion without having them getting one onto the other. So here in the contact, I want it to be like that, something like this, and it stays on the ground until this point here. And then we'll give it time to recover. maybe go a bit wider, like it's yeah, may look more interesting. So maybe I want it as I've done for the other, to get slightly more inward when leaving the ground, like it has pushed before it gets out. That's something really subtle. Because here the knee looks a bit weird in this regard. Something like that, and then yeah, the movement here should be like slower. And now I need to have smooth curve. I think it could look cool, yeah. So it may look a bit weird from a front side, but I think once I've done both, I'm not sure about this. Tell me what you think, people, about this stuff here. For me, it's a bit weird, but I will go for it. Just try it. So let's do this on the second feet. Contact pose is here. Let's make it a little more inward before it leaves the ground here. Yeah, I don't think I need this. This key here is disturbing. I want it to push, yeah, directly outward, even a bit faster. And when it goes down, yeah, I think it's better like this. Might be a bit too much, but what I can do is put the cursor here, switch to cursor, and scale on the y-axis to reduce the influence, and then offset a bit everything like that, because that might be a bit uncomfortable to run this way. Okay, so let's work on this one. So I feel a bit lost here. So this is the time is in space. Getting inward too soon, I feel. That should be here the wider moment, so something like that. So Alessandro is asking, how do I set the animation length? Well, that's pretty simple. I have my so I'm using 30 frame per second rate for the animation, and then it's just a matter of visual feedback. I generally make big monsters like running in the cycle of 30 frames, meaning that they need 1 second to complete a cycle. For smaller character like human and stuff like this, I use a 24 frame per second so that they run a little faster. The movement is a bit faster, and as this one is a bit smaller and I want it a bit more stylized and faster running, I've just reduced the animation length to 22 frames. So I stopped the animation on frame 21, so that frame 22, which is exactly the same as frame 0, is not read, and we jump back to the first frame. I think the movement is looking okay, and it will help me to deal with the hips. Yeah, that definitely input some nice information. So it's a +1 for Solveig about this movement here. That was a good idea. So maybe I will just make it like that. Was cool to add some X movement, which I generally don't do, to be honest. And also here I mean, spending like 3 hours on a run cycle is just okay, but I mean the quality from the value, the budget, etc. You always have to think about it, and yeah, more than 3 hours to animate this is out of budget. But yeah, we'll talk about this later for sure. But yeah, I want to make nice animation because I'm kind of new in the animation field, and I really like it. So if I can have more job of animation, I will be like super happy. So even if it's not always super interesting financially wise, if you enjoy a project and you think it could bring you other project, don't be as touchy as for the other, or picky as other project regarding the price. If you take a project that is super boring and you take it because you have to, this is the kind of project where you put less energy, like trying to pull the price down. So, but in this case, yeah, I prefer to get less money and work on this super project than working on a boring project for more funds, let's say. So let's work on the torso now before I start working on the shoulders, because I want to see how the torso will behave first. So I will be working on the hips in the first stance. So first I need to check the timing of the hip. Like when this foot is touching the ground, I have an extreme pose, and then it go back to the other side, which is exactly what we want. And it should be at its extreme, which is more or less the case on the z-axis here, when the foot is ready to leave the ground. Or no, before, when it's making its first contact here. Then the foot will push onto the leg, and as the leg is getting straighter, the hip will get straight into this axis here. Sorry. So we have the hip bone here. We can't really see it because it's in red. And then get straight. So as you can see, I have a short S curve here, S movement, and then it gets slower, and this is because we have a swapping animation. The foot are not moving like with regular pattern, they are moving like tac 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 tac. So you will have the same S curve as in a regular pattern, but in a shorter amount of time, and then it will slow down. So currently, when I see the curves here, they are pretty like. I have blocked the hip like pretty well, I think. Once in a while it happens. So then they should stay like pretty straight until our character is trying to reach the ground with this foot. So I will make this slightly higher here. So it's rotating with a lot of ease, and then it will touch the ground, and this is the time where the hip should raise, but with a slight offset, I think. Like bam, like you hit the ground and you do this movement, and then absorb it on the other side. Tac tac. So I will offset this one maybe a bit. So this should accelerate, meaning that I have the contact here and it accelerates toward this position, which is more extreme. So if you can see, the hip is raising this way. Okay, I don't know why then my grease pencil just disappear every time. Maybe if I do this, no. Oh yeah, it's staying now. So I will set it to blue and I can't see it. I'm not used to use the grease pencil. Whatever. But yeah, you can see that the hip should raise fast when the foot is pushing on the ground this way. So I have a bit of anticipation here, and when it hit the ground, this is where it gets the more extreme. So I know I can offset this one too, because this is a secondary, not a secondary, but this is the movement like that. So it will try to get to the ground and then absorb the impact. So you will first lean your hips, and then you will push them. This is where it has to be more extreme toward the back, because your hip will help you pushing your legs toward the back. So I think this should be like that, and it should be like at an extreme here. And then you will try to maybe a little more, like I wanted to push the legs. So I will make it stay a bit longer, like bent forward, and I bend as I can backward even more. I want it to be extreme, and then I will pull my legs. So as our character is floating a bit in the air, I will just keep it like that, and then we need to pull the legs forward a bit faster, I think. So I will move those like that. And then lower this one, and then have more impact here. More absorption, let's say. Okay. Now regarding the y-axis, that's gonna be more subtle, I think. I don't think I will play with this curve that much. I will just smooth it, because it's, you know, it's this motion. So let's try to figure out. So here, when your leg is pointing this way, I should have my, yeah, this kind of orientation. So then I will have a bit of absorptions, but does it have to get back? I don't know. Let's try this and swap direction on this one. and then slowly get back to the previous states. I think, yeah, I think it looks good. The hips are looking good, so I will just use this key to create the loop. For the Z, I need to change them too, because I have this smooth slow down, and then it hit the ground and bam, it changed orientation. Hope it makes sense to everyone. All right, let's work with the torso now. And we are slowly getting to the point where I will need to go to pee. You are pretty quiet today. I guess, yeah, animation is a bit less exciting than the blasting stuff. It's more slow, etc. So I guess you may not have that much question, and you might be doing your stuff at the same time. So here, when it will get to the ground, I should have, like, on this next frame a bit of like absorption, like the hips just absorb the impact, and then he will try to push. So maybe, like, it's hard to say, but yeah, here it is like bending way too early in the end toward the front. So I will make it slightly higher here, so that when you reach this position and the contact pose, we will have an offset and an absorption here. Like he is squashed to the ground before he starts rising. And then I want it to bend until it reaches the highest point in the air, like this one. I will get rid of this one. And here, yeah, that's way too fast. I want it like this, like falling to the ground, and yeah, that's cool. Like boing. Looks nice here, I feel. So then that will be a matter of yeah, that just need also to check the z-axis here, but that's gonna be subtle. So it generally have to move like in opposite direction from the hip, which is what we have done before. So here it's for me, it's looking decent. I can get rid of some of the key just to keep a subtle movement, but maybe get a bit higher here, because he's so let's think he's pushing on this fist, so he will try to put his weight onto it, so lean toward it, and then on the other. So I will have a slight S curve here. Yeah, that's yeah, animation is you need to focus a bit for sure. And then we'll slowly get back to the other pose here, this one. Don't want to input that much movement on this motion because I will add a slight right and left motion to the torso, and I think I will do this right now. And that will be too much if I do this, like, and also this is the kind of stuff that if you are comfortable with blocking and you're more experienced, you can anticipate the good position for the torso at the very beginning, the torso master, let's say. So now regarding the Y rotation, so we have this one here that should be like, oh, that's a weird way to rotate while it's set to quaternion. Yeah, okay, something like this. And then here should go to the opposite direction, meaning that it's rotating his spine like this, but I feel like it's getting jittery for nothing, so not sure it's a good idea to add also rotation on this axis. I will just keep it like smooth because I can't see a good thing happening from this. And generally, if you can't see good thing, it means that you are inputting bad things in your animation. So let's just add some X location movements. So first contact with this hand here. So he will put his weight onto this hand. So I need to move, you see, the character toward this hand. Okay, and then as soon as he change his off arm, should put his weight on the other one. So I will get a slight S as we did before, like that. And then he will slowly try to get to this point. So that's pretty. Yeah, I could also play with the. I can go a little further on this side, because once this arm is leaving the ground, this leg is taking the next pose, so he's pushing on it, which makes sense. And then try to reach the next pose with the other leg, like that. And might be a bit too much. I wish I had again a real-time preview, which I can get with the playblast. Let's see. Yeah, that's subtle. That's subtle enough, I believe. I mean, this, it doesn't pop to my eyes, so I feel like it's looking decent here. So let's get a bit further with the. Let's get a bit further with the. Sorry, with the chest. But first, I will have to go to pee. I'm sorry about this. So yeah, guys, I need just to have a 2 minutes break, and I'll be back for you. Hope you're enjoying it. I'm back in 2 seconds. So I'm back. Let me know if the sound is okay, because I feel like I was streaming with the wrong mic currently, the one from the webcam. I'm not sure about it. Check, check, check. Maybe. So let me know if the sound is still okay for you. Okay, so let's check this rotation here of the spine. So of the chest, sorry. So I will mainly focus on the previous one here and on the contact with the ground. So for example, when it's like this, like pushing on the hands, it should be like broken backward, like something like that. Ah, seriously? That's fine. I'm not sure I was using the same mic before. Then yeah, here it's pushing upward like way too soon. So the idea here is that when you will hit the ground, your chest will get up with the shoulder. Okay. Okay, it was a bad joke. Okay, thank you. And then when you move forward here, I want to break the arc, so I'm pretty happy with this, and then rise after. Like it's broken and it raises pretty way too fast for me here. And like input some absorption, and as it goes down, so here I don't like the fact it's going down that fast. So the impact is pretty important here. So maybe I can increase this effect, like whoosh. It's really breaking the chest here. Then he put energy to to get back in the air. I think this stage could last a bit longer. I think it's like, I don't like the fact it's bending like backward here. Yeah, but he has to reach for the ground, so maybe it's a matter of timing here. I should offset it of one key, making this one a bit like that. And then break the spine. Yeah, I think it looks better. So from the front view now, let's check. So he's bending toward his left arm here, which is decent, which is okay. So this way, and he should start pushing the other way as soon as he is leaving. So I will move this key here, get rid of this one, and now start to move on the other side. Something like, yeah, I think it looks good, and it should be this one is useless, like he's recovering in the air, so I will keep this like that. And he's leaning slowly toward the impact, and on the impact get like this way, so this key should be slightly higher, and orient it this way so that I have a smooth transition. Yeah, you see how much like it input a lot more movement on the side than we have before, because we are adding this movement on each bone one by one. So and so the Y rotation here should be like at an extreme here, and then it should get back toward the other shoulder, let's say, on the contact. So that's decent for me, but maybe it should go like a bit further, and then it will take time to recover for sure. And here he will start to lean the other way. So yeah, so this might not be as it should be like that. Slow downs till the contact and then swap direction. Maybe I should have a slight offset in the wall curve, I think. On the side view it looks like decent, but again this is too slow. That's I need to offset the wall curve, I think. Or maybe it's the main torso that looks a bit bad, I don't know. I want more weight on the ground. I don't know exactly. Okay, let's see. I think it will be better with an offset, so I will try it. So I select everything, duplicate them on the x-axis, then so that I still have my loop, but I will be able to offset it now a bit. So that was a mistake. I should duplicate it on the other axis here. That's weird. Like my latest frame is not the same as the first one. Alright. That's maybe why it looks weird. Now if I move everything like from one frame to the side, I will have an offset, and it doesn't look better at all. It looks like way worse. Yeah, I need to an offset on the other side. Seems to be better. Let's try it. Now if I play this, I think yeah, there is this moment here where it goes down like too short, I think. So I will add a keyframe on those and get rid of everything else. No, this is frame 22. I want to keep it, and I want to revise this. Like it's getting down way too fast for me. Oh, it was a flat curve. Yeah, okay. Looks better here. what do we have? It should be raising, so let's do it this way. I have a bit of a wavy effect, but I think it's okay because it occurs when there is impact, so it looks like it's pretty natural. Okay, so let's now move the head, so that's gonna be quite simple. I think I've used at first only one axis, so I don't want him to be like he is, as he's pretty light. I don't want him to be like his head is super heavy and he's suffering from this. So he will raise the head like later on. Here I need to offset those keys for sure, because he is gathering energy here, so I need to check something like, yeah, this curve should be offset and way lower, but here I want him to keep his head like pretty straight and tight. And then when he push, he will lean it forward and then try to raise it pretty fast. Okay. And I should have a more extreme pose like here of the head. So that now I can revise this. So I will keep it quite like raised in the air. Like he is not suffering that much from the impact on the ground. But then when he try to push forward, this is where he moves his head forward to I don't know, to raise it fast and pull his body forward. Like when he's in the air, he's like happy about life and he's looking forward. That's fine. And he's not like his head is too heavy to be lifted. Okay. I think it looks decent here. So now we could add some left to right movement due to this this one here, we can see, which is a bit extreme, I feel, but I will reduce the Z amplitude here. So I will use I will show you, I will use a bounding box here. I've selected the Z rotation, which make it rotate on the side, and I will scale it on the y-axis, and it will reduce this effect a bit. Alright, there is another one that is moving like crazy. This one maybe, yeah. And we have the tailbone here. Yeah, this one is like from the back. I can scale it a bit down to reduce the effect. Okay. So now let's move the head accordingly. So it will have a follow-through animation currently. So I will focus on the Z rotation first, I will get rid of some of the keys because I don't feel like there are of any use. Okay, and see, okay, so when he moves like that, so let's see, like here it should be slightly rotating this way. Okay. And then to the other side. Oh, the change should occur sooner. Like something like this. No, it doesn't work. That's weird. I can't feel the right motion here because I want him like to be pulled on the side a bit, but I will try to offset those just to see. No, it was better before. Oh, no, that's fine. Okay. And let's rotate the y-axis too, so let's see what we have here. Oh. Yeah, I will check. So I have Laurie in French telling me that the head movement might be a bit too strong on this axis. So then what I can do is that I can how to say, I can reduce the amplitude of the curve to make it like more like his head is not as heavy as it seems to be, so something like that, and have more stability when it's in the air, something like this. So I will just add a few keys here to make it last longer when it's down. No, doesn't look right. Okay. Regarding the Y, so if you I don't know yet if you should rotate this way or this way. We'll get rid of those keys. So here I will try to move my head toward my arm. I guess. And then try to push toward the former position, like that. Yeah, looks good. Yeah, that brings a bit more. I don't know, but it looks more balanced, which is fine. Okay, so now let's fix our shoulders rotation. So let's see this like that. So so I may revise the timing directly by using the dope sheet first and revise the position of the keyframes. So for example, here I wanted to be like trying to reach the front area, then it makes sense that he's pulling the arm backward, but he's also supporting his weight, so it should bend like that, and it should be a bit late compared to the motion of the fist, as you have your own inertia, your own movement. I mean, your shoulder will be like pulling energy backward to make you move, for sure, but you have also to absorb your current weight and the energy you've already put into your movements. Then you will try to move it forward. So I think there might be a bit like a slight lag, and then when you see the end starting to get forward, the shoulder will be pulling on the arm to bring the end forward. I think something like this. And here the shoulder should be raised, like it's pulling on the arm. It's not. Okay, something like that. It's pulling the arm in the air, and then the arm will be oriented toward the front as we did before. And then you will try to reach the further position. So I will duplicate this. Now it should look way better already. So now we have this fast move when it touches the ground, which is okay. It's like if you see cats don't have shoulders, or I don't think so, but they have those strange bone in the back that you see when they are walking. It make bumps, and you can see when they put their weight onto their their feet, you can see this popping out. So this is kind of the same effect here. So let's check this one. So from this point, I think it should be a bit lower and more forward, like that. Then it will try to reach as far as possible to the ground before the contact pose. And then this will be pushed up and lag a bit in front as we did before. During the passing here it will start to recover a bit, but will still be pushing the ground. And then here, this is where it will be pushing as backward as possible and toward the ground, because it's like, you know, you're trying, you just think about a boat where you have to, I don't know how to say it in English, but you have to do this. It's like the same thing with your shoulder in the air. So there will be a time where it be kept like backward, and then it will start to pull the arm forward as we did for the other one. So here, this will be the time where the shoulder is just pulled up the end and forward before we reach the contact here, more or less the contact. So now let's see how the curve looks like, and it looks a bit better. So let's think about it. So it will be mostly about smoothing them. So here I have because of the impact, I have a motion and a lot of rotation occurring, a lot of energy here. So I don't think I want it like to raise fast and then slow and then rise fast, so I can get rid of this keyframe so that the rotation will look smoother. And I like the transition on the x-axis here, but on the z on the X, sorry, I feel like it should be a bit faster, and then stay backward for a bit of time as he's floating in the air. So this is what we have here that I've made on one axis, and then he will pull forward. So this one, yeah, that's fine. And we should have a smooth transition, a smooth movement toward a slow motion toward the ground, because he's in the air, there is no resistance, so he's just pulling his arm forward gently, let's say. So here in this case the movement could be like smoother. That's crazy. I get this yeah, this is like overdone here. So I don't have like I think it's maybe a bit too fast here. Like that, and then yeah, when it goes back, it's a bit too hardcore. Yeah, looks bad, and I want it to stay a bit like this. Like he's nearly breaking his shoulder just by running, which kind of sucks. If you can't, if your body can't support your weight, that's, and here I want it like more like that, and this should stay down a little longer. So I will try to avoid the position where the how to say, the elbow is going wild, as we see here. Yeah, I think it's looking pretty good. I like the moment where it hit the ground and we have this this change in the position. I think it looks nice. So let's oh, this one is quite messy for sure. So plus we have an offset to deal with, so it might be those curves at the end. That's fine. Let's start from the contact pose and don't care about what's happening previously. So here it's raised too fast for sure. So I need absorption and then being at the top, and then when you push backward this time it looks like it's quite nice. It's aligned with the body. That's fine for me. Regarding this motion here, I'd like to yeah, that's pretty subtle. So will it move inward? I don't think it should move like backward, so this key is wrong. And we can get rid of this one. Yeah, it's better like this. Okay, so I don't know why I have this flat state here. That that doesn't look that bad, but that's weird. Maybe I should raise this one a bit. Yeah, it looks way better once it reached this point. The transition looks good, and here that's decent. I think I have flat transition here, which is weird. Let's try to okay, it's the forward movement, so it should be like further here for sure. Because he will start to pull his arm as soon as he touched the ground. So he throw his hand forward to gather energy, and once he connect with the ground, he will start to pull his shoulder back. So having like a key before or in the air where he's more forward, like this one makes sense in this case. Okay, so I think it's decent. So I believe I will be able to start working on the follow through animations, like the tail, the jaw also. I will make it moving as it was, like following the body. So I think I could input a bit more movement for the back, for the legs, for example. Let's see from a side view. I think there could be like a bit more extreme toward the back. Because that's I won't say it's realistic, but yeah, that's a bit I don't know. I wish it goes a bit further for the legs, and also maybe revise a bit the torso animation here, this bone. Let's see if we can like a bit more toward the ground. And push a little higher here when we are in the air. Okay, and regarding the legs, I feel like I'd like it to go a bit further backward. Like here, this is the most extreme position. I think like it would be better like a bit further. Like here. And slightly higher. Now it pulls forward a bit too fast. So it should be at its highest point, like here. Yeah. Okay. So let's now work with the jaw, which will be pretty easy, I think. So I will get rid of those. And I will start with a closed position, so it's the x-axis. At least something less open, let's say, as a default. And the idea here is just to make it like feel like his jaw is following. So whenever it will start to rise like this is where it will be like opened. Not too much, but a bit. And when it goes down, will start to close, and when it contacts here, like bow, this is where it will be more closed. Now I just need to make it smooth. Now I can do the same with this bone, but with a slight offset. Like here it will be at its maximum. So it's not realistic to have two bones in the jaw for sure, but that will give a more interesting movement to the character. So when it closes, I think I will offset this like that. It's a bit mechanical here. I feel like the extreme pose should be right here. That looks better. I don't think. Okay. So let's deal with the clothes now. So I start with those feathers. That's gonna be pretty easy. So you can see the. So we just have to not to forget that he's running. So currently there should be always bent a bit backward, and we can achieve this by offsetting the movement then. So we'll have here the most movement toward the back here, and then when he moved the head backward like this, we should have a bit of absorption. And then it will get back to moving forward in this position. So that should work this way. Yeah. Now by adding the curve effect, it's gonna amplify its sensation, and that will look nice, let's say. But there is a, I feel like there is a jumping frame sometime. I don't know, I'm not sure. So here those are moving backward and then forward here, so we should be like way extreme on this pose and recover from it on this one. So maybe frame 22 like that. Let's see. I think that the head movement is a bit like annoying me here. Yeah. Okay, and this is a bit too slow. So here it should move backward sooner, like here. Let's be like extreme like here. So now what I'd like to see is if I could cheat and copy this animation toward the other to save some time. So I can select this, select the X curve, Control C, and past it and see how it behaves. So it has offset the position for sure, but now it's following the same movement, which is nice. So I will do the same with the other curve. Now you can see the movement on all the feathers. Don't know if I can like make it the viewport a bit more responsive here. So now I can input a bit of up and down effect on this side feather controller. So here it should go a bit up, and when you rise a bit down. So I will duplicate this point. When you rise, it should go like that. When it go down, should get back to a better position, something like this. Let's see. Don't want to make it too extreme because it's as is running. You have the wind in the air or in the feather that kept them like pretty straight, so that could be a mistake to make this movement too extreme. Pushing forward and get back here. Okay. Well, it's hard to tell, but on the preview here it looks nice. So I will just copy this animation on the other side. So if everything's work well by pressing Ctrl Shift V, I should be able to mirror the curves. Yeah, that looks decent. That's a bit extreme, a bit too much, I think. Especially on the x-axis, it's going like way too deep. But I can offset the curve like that. GY. But I think it makes the run more appealing already. So let's work on those here, and then we'll have to deal with the tail, and it's gonna be hit, I think. Like with about more than 3 hours to do this. That's crazy. Was more complicated than expected. And I haven't animated those little monkeys, so yeah, that's a bit crazy for sure. I guess most of you are gone to have their lunch. So here should be like that, and when it push it will be like moving backward. And when in the air here it should be like something like that. Okay. Even more. Okay, that's decent. Let's have a look to the curve very rapidly, just to make them cycling. I won't be like polishing them that much. Because I have to finish this for sure. And I don't have any keys on this one. That's weird. So let's add one eye rotation and get rid of this. Delete single keyframe and re-enable the available here. So here I will have an extreme key like that. And when it tries like this frame, something like this, and I think this will be the cycle. No, I didn't do the model on this project. I'm in charge of the rigging and the animation. The model was done by Emmanuel Rolf. If you check my previous streaming, I've put a link to her work. She's very talented, a very young artist, just out of the school, but very talented already. So I will see if I can copy, as I'm getting lazy here, those animation. And I will just, no, I think it looks okay. Yeah, that's fine. So let's now just work with the tail rapidly. So when it goes up like that, the tail should be like near the ground. And when it goes down, when the foot will make contact, be at the most, at the highest point, I think. All right, let's see this X curve, sorry. Duplicate this one and work on the maybe a bit higher like that. That's a very simple movement, so you can make it work directly on the by playing with the curve. I think it's a bit too extreme, so I will scale it on the y-axis. Okay, now I will play with this one. So here I might have my most extreme pose in this way, like it's falling down, and as soon as it gets up, the most extreme in this way. now I can work on the end frames. So that's, I think it could stay like a little later and a little further. And also maybe when it's high like that. I think it's fine. I think it's fine. So from the top view, you can see we have this left to right effect because of the hips here, and also because I've accidentally rotated those. So that's gonna be the hard part. So here I won't be focusing on the hip. I will be mainly focusing on the torso position, the root of the tail to make the movements. Because from a back view, I think it doesn't look that crazy, because the movement is not like super violent, let's say, but I like to put some anticipation, to put some absorption in this movement. So I will use the z-axis, and from here I will move it like here and go to the other side then. So I feel like it's when it goes there, that's fine, but it's like I would like another movement. I don't know yet. Or this one may last longer on the side. Oh, that looks really bad, I feel. There is this fast movement on to the right here that looks really bad. I think it looks more decent, but still this is because mainly because of since the hips are driving the legs, that make the tail looks a bit weird, but that should be fine. So let's now focus on this effect. So I will just hide the other ones and put some follow through animation. So very simple. Yeah, looks okay. Like circling around like that, following the movement of the hips. So that's not too bad. So this could be certainly improved for sure, but I think it's looking decent. I just need to check if I don't have like weird angles with the elbows. The left arm is looking good. The right though is here pointing to like way too high. So we'll see if I can revise a bit the orientation here. And here, just a bit like that. So that there's a bit of absorption. Yeah, looks better for sure. Okay. So let's check this out with a little playblast, and I think we'll call this done. So then I will have to animate those two little guys. So I will currently animate one run cycle on one of those guys and just copy and paste it and offset it on the other one. So let's see how it looks in real time. I think it looks, it's nice. So what I will do is that I will output one or two other playblast from different point of view, so that I can see if there's anything wrong, and I will just add them into After Effects. Hopefully we'll be able to read them. Okay. From the top view maybe, or I don't know, maybe something like that. Let's try. Ah, it's not framed, sorry. No, I won't be using this one. I don't remember. No. Just trying to mask them rapidly. Just using this with one. That should be okay. Any option about the new anim software? Kids who never heard about this. Sorry, so I don't have any option now because I don't know this software. Have you tested it at your side? I mean, there is. I use Blender because I'm used to Blender. Let's say. I feel like Maya is still more powerful for animation, but yeah, I mean there is. I don't think there is the one best software. Also, it's animation is more like everything. It's about training, you know. So. Come on. Okay, it won't resize as I want. That's not important. Okay, let's see. I think it looks decent. Okay. That's not perfect, but this is not the easiest animation I've done. Don't know what you think about it. Just let me know in the comments, or when the stream will be online. Don't hesitate to let me know what you think. But I feel like I will make it like at the end of this streaming, because we've been like more than 3 hours in this streaming, so that's super long for streaming. I'm pretty satisfied about the output, even if I don't feel like I feel like it could have been better for sure, but and now After Effects is just crashing, so it's meaning that this is really the time where I will have to finish this. So yeah, just want to say thank you to everyone that were here again, and I hope to see you on the next streaming. So I don't know yet what it will be about, but I will think about it. It might be about animation again, because I like to share this content with you, even if it's pretty hard to communicate with you as I did during the explosion tutorial. Anyway, so thank you all for joining in the streaming, and I really hope to see you on next one. Have a nice day. See you.